What if sound does not entertain your brain but tunes it? Across ancient cultures, sound was treated as a tool and not an art. And only recently has neuroscience started measuring the same effects. So, in this video, I will show you where these ideas overlap and why your brain responds to sound the way it does. Finally, we will explore how this knowledge can be used to our advantage. Hi there, I'm Yvette, a neuroscientist and an author of several neuroscience studies. On this channel, I explore how the brain works and decode its mysteries, but most importantly, how you can think better in a world shaped by AI and tech. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This was written in the Bible, and Genesis didn't say the idea or the thought. It said the word, which is a sound rippling through the void. Across the planet, separated by oceans and millennia, ancient civilizations arrived at the same conclusion, that sound has power over us. The Hindus called it the Om, which refers to the primordial vibration from which all existence emerged. In fact, the ancient concept of Nada Brahma declared the world as sound. Egyptian priests intoned specific frequencies in temple chambers, designed to amplify them. Tibetan monks struck singing bowls, and Gregorian monks filled cathedrals with harmonic chants. And the list goes on. So the question that pops right in our mind is, were they all delusional, or did they know something we forgot? In 1967, Swiss scientist Hans Jenny published a book that would resurrect an ancient intuition. He called it sematics, the study of wave phenomena. Basically, the study of visible sound. So, let me explain. Watch what happens when you place fine sand on a metal plate and run specific frequencies through it. The sand organizes itself into precise, beautiful geometric patterns. And changing the frequency will result in an instant pattern transformation. And eerily enough, the patterns Jenny captured looked familiar, like the rose windows in Gothic cathedrals, or the mandalas of Buddhist tradition. So, is this just coincidence, or ancient builders were onto something about nature? If I had to bet, it would be the latter, as even how sacred temples and churches were built, they were engineered for specific acoustic properties. For example, the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid resonates at 110 Hz, and the prehistoric Halsaflieni Halpogeum Temple in Malta has chambers that amplify frequencies between 70 and 114 Hz. So the chanting practice seemed to be used to tune something. But tuning what exactly? Well, and that's the question that brings us from ancient temples to modern neuroscience labs. Your brain is, at this very moment, humming with electricity. Billions of neurons firing in coordinated patterns, creating waves of electrical activity that pulse through your skull at different speeds. We call these brain waves, and they fall into distinct frequency bands, such as delta waves, theta waves, alpha waves, and gamma waves. For decades, we neuroscientists thought of these as simple readouts of brain activity. Then we discovered that although neurons produce these frequencies, they can also be influenced by frequencies from the environment around us. This phenomenon is called entrainment, which is the tendency of oscillating systems to lock into the same rhythm. And this is the principle behind why, when your brain is exposed to a regular external rhythm, like let's say a drum beat, it begins to match that frequency. And this principle, now we are using it in the clinics, where in music therapy programs, Alzheimer's patients who can't remember their children's names suddenly recall every word to songs from their youth. Or, for example, veterans with PTSD are finding relief through rhythmic drumming circles. The steady beat entrains the dysregulated nervous system back towards baseline, reducing hyperarousal and the constant fight or flight response. Then, researchers at MIT have used 40 Hz flickering lights and tones to reduce amyloid plaques in mouse models of Alzheimer's disease. Cool, huh? So, it seems that the ancients were right to think that sound plays an important role in creating specific brain states. And modern neuroscience is finding that sound helps rewire the brain. So now in this part we are gonna enter speculative territory, the frontier where neuroscience meets questions science hasn't fully answered yet. Remember the sound patterns in sematics? How each frequency created a distinct stable pattern, and changing the frequency instantly transformed the structure? What if your brain works in the same way. Through brain imaging, we know that different thoughts create different patterns of neural activity. Fear looks different from joy. Calculating math looks different from listening to music, and so on. But one emerging field is asking the following question: are thoughts just correlated with frequency patterns, or are they frequency patterns themselves? Think about it. Your neurons don't just fire randomly. They fire in synchrony, creating oscillations, which are waves of coordinated electrical activity. Different types of thinking involve different frequencies. Gamma waves for binding information together into conscious perception. Theta waves for memory consolidation and creative insight. And alpha waves for calm, receptive awareness. The ancient thinkers described their practices in exactly these terms. They spoke of tuning consciousness, of finding the right pitch. For example, the Tibetan monks who spent decades in meditation were practicing a form of neurological entrainment. They had been training their brains to sustain specific frequency patterns until those patterns became their default state. And this is why sound therapy works, because if trauma is a stuck pattern, a frequency our brain keeps looping back to, then healing might be about introducing a new frequency that allows the system to reorganize. And we can see this in action in trauma therapies, where specific frequencies can help dysregulated nervous systems find their way back to coherence. And I know, at first glance, all of this just sounds woo-woo, but that just means that we're still at the beginning of understanding how all of this works. And if you need more science to convince you, well, I would recommend you to watch this video next, where I go in detail into the scientific studies which are bringing 40 Hz light and sound flickering to treat Alzheimer's disease. And with this, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.